that took place before the UN declaration of what constitutes genocide had been created.
Sure, that's right. But I mean, for crimes against humanity or crimes against Armenians, obviously the word of genocide wasn't there at that time.
I understand the word genocide raises a lot of red flags in the Turkish community. Would you be prepared to say, yes, the Ottoman Empire is guilty of having perpetrated acts that led to the deaths of hundreds of thousands, if not more than 1 million Armenians?
Well, if you call the decision, well, obviously there was a decision of relocation given by the Ottoman Empire, which caused a lot of effects that's happening. Whether they directly indicated that to happen is another matter. In fact, there's also a lot of evidence that they specifically indicated to the governors of the areas to, to assist the relocation orders. But obviously there was no law and order in the middle of war in such an era, and things broke up, and these things happened. We acknowledge those suffering and deaths.
Let me ask you another question that I asked Mr. Babikian, which is, the people responsible for this obviously are dead today. It wasn't even Turkey back then. It was the Ottoman Empire.
Exactly.
Different country, different standards, different. I mean, everything compared to today is different. Now Turkey's trying to get welcomed into the Western family of nations. And yet there is still to this day, even though there isn't that direct link, I think it's fair to say, a defensiveness among Turks that this be called one thing, not another. Why are Turks still so defensive about this?
Well, they're defensive because their death is not acknowledged, as if it doesn't matter. I mean, the West always hears about Armenian genocide, quote, quote, Armenians. You know, the numbers increased tremendously up to, millions. Yet nobody talks about the deaths of Turks.
If Turkish deaths were acknowledged by the other side, would Turks be prepared to acknowledge there was a genocide?
No, not a genocide, but Turks always acknowledge that hundreds and thousands of Armenians died and they suffered losses. That's a tragedy. These events happened. They're a tragedy. Let's learn how did it happen, why it happened, and so that they won't happen again. But calling it genocide, and especially in political arenas, is not the solution. I mean, the Prime Minister of Turkey just suggested this 4 years ago, a joint historical commission by Armenian and Turkish historians, as well as third parties, and still not being accepted by the Armenians. Turks opened the archives, but the archives in Armenia and the archives of the Armenian Revolutionary Federation in Boston are not being opened. So let's have a scholarly debate rather than a political debate.
In this country, earlier in this decade, on a few occasions, I know a couple of provinces did it and then the Canadian Parliament did it, resolutions were passed stating that what took place 94 years ago was genocide. What's your view on those parliamentary resolutions?
Most probably within the next 3 or 4 days, on April 24, President Obama is obviously, as every year, he has to make a statement. Everybody is watching to see if he's going to use the word genocide or not. And if he says genocide, does it mean that now it is genocide? Because President Obama said...
Well, when he was there, he didn't use it. When he was in Turkey, he wouldn't use the word.
That's right. But I mean, what I'm saying is whether he uses it or not, politicians don't know about the issues, don't care about the issues. They have their own agendas. Which is get elected and obviously campaign donations and their own interests.
So this was designed to curry favor with the Armenian community?
Yes, it was. I mean, I don't believe that there are a large number of Canadian politicians in the year 2009 that care about what happened 90 years ago in Eastern Anatolia, or they know about it. But there's obviously other dynamics in there.
How many Turkish Canadians today?
In Canada?
Yeah.
About 40,000.
So it's half as big as the Armenian community.
Yeah, but also half as powerful because Armenia has been there for 90 or 100 years, and obviously they're much more well established and organized and economically powerful also.
So tell me, how does all of this discussion about genocide and what comes up every year on the 24th of April, how does this affect the Turkish Canadian community?
It affects obviously being labeled as sort of descendants from people who perpetrated genocide, and we see this all the time. Our children at schools see this all the time. They've been attacked. Their cultural functions have been attacked. Their conferences are silenced, people involved. And this is not really what should happen in a multicultural environment like Canada.
I wonder if part of the problem, though, is that and help me with this, because I've heard Armenians say that it is illegal in Turkey today to discuss this issue, that you know, very problematic to have conferences. There's kind of an official government position on what did or didn't take place, and anybody who tries to sort of buck the conventional position on this runs great risks in Turkey.
No, there is no such thing. There is obviously in Turkey, there are nationalist groups that are very radical as any country, but there is no, it is not illegal to discuss this. From time to time, depending on the policies, you know, one side goes some other measures or not, but it is never illegal. In fact, there are so many conferences being done in Turkey to discuss this. It's being written in the papers. There is no, it is not illegal, but it wasn't really an issue. I learned about all these issues in 1973, or between 70 and 70 when I was in California. In Turkey, I had a lot of Armenian friends. The only thing I thought different in them was their names. For me, they sounded weird.